Wait a minute. SeatGeek. Do you work for these guys?
Who's the sponsor of today's video, and that's SeatGeek.
Yes, SeatGeek!
Guys, today's episode is sponsored by SeatGeek.
SeatGeek. Call SeatGeek. SeatGeek.
Wait, you've done 2,231 creator deals? I wanted to bring you on here. Obviously, I get this question a lot of just like, how do you price brand deals? But before we get to that, I think there's like just some rudimentary questions that I want to ask. And I think that the one that just pops in my head that, I think about a lot is like, what have you seen, now being at SeatGeek for as long as you have and doing all these deals, like what are the mistakes that creators are making?
There's a lot of things because there's like this information asymmetry, right? Things that the creator's not thinking about. And so that puts this weird disadvantage to the creator versus the brand, especially if they don't have management. Ultimately, it comes back to me is what are you giving up? And that depends a lot on what category the creator is in, right? So if you're a financial services creator, that financial partner is going to be a massive category for you. So when you go into any negotiation where a brand is like, I want to work with you, you need to understand, one, how important is that category? And two, how much are they taking away of potential other revenue? So am I exclusive? Do they have my usage rights? Those kind of things really play a massive role in you foregoing future opportunities because you agreed to this deal now.
Okay, so I've seen you put out this tweet before, and I actually love that you put it out, but you talked a little bit about how a brand actually gets to a creator and all the people that can kind of fit themselves in between the brand and the creator. Can you talk a little bit about that tweet that you put out? Because I thought it was so spot on, by the way, and I'll put a picture of it here so people can see it.
Right, so there's so many people in the middle where a brand will have an agency do deals on their behalf, and that agency is going to take a certain percentage of what they book. And then often there's another person, there's like a marketing agent, right? There's someone who says they represent Jimmy, but doesn't really represent Jimmy. He's actually reaching out to you and say, hey, can I pass this deal along and take a cut? And then there's Reed, and then there's somebody else, and then there's Jimmy. And so in between, so much information is both lost and so much money is given to these people in the middle. Somebody reaches out and say, hey, this brand wants to work with you. You have to know that person reaching out is taking some sort of financial compensation to bring you that deal.
The first question you should ask when someone says, hey, I represent so-and-so is, are you exclusive? And that's kind of, the thing that I've used over the last 5 years is like, we are exclusive, and I'm going to go to all these people, all these brands, and let them know. There's a lot of like, say you start with $100,000, the brand is like, we want to spend $100,000 on X creator. There's probably 30 to 40K that is gone just through like intermediaries, third parties before it even like gets to a manager, right? And then now obviously the manager is going to take their cut. So I just thought it was an interesting tweet that you put out, but it was so spot on.
Yeah, I mean, and don't get me wrong, agencies and management play a massive role in understanding it.
What do you negotiate with creators who don't have managers? Like if so you say you do a lot of small deals. I would imagine a lot of those creators don't have management and they're negotiating their own deals or don't have an agent. Right.
A lot of them don't have management. Used to be much more prevalent. Like when I started doing this 5 years ago, you'd be talking to 17, 18-year-old kids who, like, their mom was the one who was signing the contract. And when I talk about, like, I could see a lot of brands, and they do it, take advantage of these situations. What you see with some of these brands is you're giving up your content rights in perpetuity. You're exclusive to the brand forever. And those are crazy, crazy clauses to add into deals that basically takes advantage of the fact that you're working with a creator who doesn't have a manager or who hasn't done a ton of different deals.
Do you find it easier to negotiate direct with a creator or if there's actually a manager and an agent in place?
It's always easier for me to go directly to talent. And you deal with someone like David or someone like even Jimmy, I bet, they'll come up with an idea and need funding for it as soon as possible.
I wanted to maybe get myself a Ferrari, and I wanted to see if you guys could help.
I'm going to probably get, one, an amazing ad because this creator is so jacked up to do it. Two, it's probably going to outpunch its weight. I'm probably going to get a relative discount because I can move that fast. It's the closest game of telephone you can get, the brand and the content creator.
Okay, I can get you the other half.
Where are you guys seeing the most value right now? Instagram, like I'm sure you've experimented on TikTok. I don't know if you guys have experimented on Twitter over the years, but are you seeing the most value on YouTube?
Yeah, I just think if you're in the game of I want to get people to actually download an app, to really hear my ad, to buy tickets. There's nothing stronger than long form content, because if you're willing to watch a Mr. Beast video, you care about him, you care about his content, you're kind of along for the ride. I don't think there's another place right now you can spend your money more effectively, and because it's so niche oriented. So for us, like, we work with a guy who breaks down LA Lakers film. Like, that's his thing. He gets 200,000 views a video, 300,000 views a video, but every single person I know is a sports fan. That is a massively important audience for us. And I can only really get that on YouTube. So I'd say, 95% of our spend right now is on YouTube. And then there's like 2% podcasts and 2% Twitch, because we just started working with Nick Merckx, but like, that's about it.
Yep, I saw that. And then how are you guys thinking about pricing those deals? Like, are you pricing it based on the views per video? Are you pricing it based on like views per video, but if the ad's at the 3-minute mark, we have to factor for like ABD fall off? Like, how are you guys thinking about this pricing structure internally?
The way I look at it is, okay, how many sales do we need to do to make this deal work? And then you got to look at that creator, look at their content. So if it's a mainstream creator like Mr. Beast or David or Cody Ko, they're going to sell tickets to everything. You can't get the scale like you're going to get there anywhere else on YouTube. The pricing was a little different in that I can be a little bit more aggressive in sports, because I know everyone in that audience cares, especially if it's NFL, because I know it's not international. But yeah, there's different ways we think about pricing. The best deals don't make sense on a CPV basis, and I say that with a disclaimer. So like, the hardest thing right now would be if you want to go sponsor a top tier creator, the barrier to entry is so incredibly high. So for instance, Cody Ko, we started working with Cody 3 or 4 years ago. Cody's rate was a fraction of what it is now. His views were less, his audience was younger.
Listen, I've worked with SeatGeek for a long time, and I'm stoked that they're sponsoring my channel again. We're back.
And as we've risen up, the cost per view has gone up exponentially, but so has his results.
Yeah, without question. The one thing I've noticed about you guys too is like, it's not usually a one-off deal. Like when SeatGeek usually gets involved with a creator, there's follow-on deals. They're talking about it probably once every couple months, especially the Cody Ko example. They feel like full-fledged SeatGeek endorsers now. Do you guys build exclusivity into most of those contracts? I'd imagine the long-term ones, but are you building exclusivity into like the shorter-term test contracts that you're doing with creators?
The way you get to scale in creators, both for creators, I believe, and for brands, is long-term deals. If you're constantly trying to hustle for new partners all the time, it puts a lot of stress both on the brand and the creator.
So the last thing I wanted to ask you is, if you look at SeatGeek's marketing spend over the last 5 years, like what's the percentage allocation to influencer marketing, and like has it exponentially increased?
On a macro level, creators are more expensive than ever. There's all these new entrants to the space. One, like Coinbase, but there's also these massive blue chip companies that are coming in that are spending up in the fintech category and crypto and gambling. Affects all of our sports creators that are pushing rates up across the board. And the reason is, if you're a brand, there's not very many places you can put your money right now that you think people are actually listening. If you want to go do a TV commercial, if you want to go do an out-of-home campaign, you can do it. But ultimately, like when you look at yourself in the eyes, you know that you have a chance to integrate directly with someone's favorite creator, and you're going to put your money there. Is how SeatGeek has become a household brand amongst Gen Z, is because of our spend. So I'd say we're at like 30% to 40% of our spend right now is on influencers.
Yeah, you guys double down, as we're seeing with most brands in this space. And you made the comment, like, inventory is also an issue right now. It seems like
such an issue. Creators
are posting less. YouTube no longer like incentivizes daily uploads. And so as creators have figured that out, they've scaled the amount of videos back. The video views per video have also gone up, because I think more people are flooding into YouTube to watch content. And then you said, like, there's people coming into this space spending a lot of money on a per video basis. And then now that's the expectation that you guys need to come up to. So I totally understand. I totally agree.
I had a creator tell me yesterday they didn't have availability till July 2022. And I said, excuse me? Is this the world I'm living in, where I'm buying like ads for a year later? And if you think about it though, well, if they're that booked out, brands must really be seeing success there. And so ultimately, and I also think creators are really, for Mr. Beast, obviously your guys' bar is so high that it's hard to come out with videos, but also creators are starting to prioritize, hey, maybe I don't need to do 8 videos in a week. Both of those happen where there's now inventory is hard to get. But it's also very hard for me to say a year from now I'm going to do an ad.
So you didn't do the deal?
No, I'm going to do the deal. I'm going to do the deal. It's like hearing something's exclusive and you're like, well, I got to have a taste now. I got to figure out what this is. I'd also argue potentially if you're selling that far in advance, your rate is probably going to go up between that. Like if you want to be the most aggressive, you'd sell Q1 and Q2, but let's not sell Q3 yet. We have to know what our value prop is, and bluntly, SeatGeek's not going to be the most money, but we will have the tightest ad in the Mr. Beast video possible. We are going to move as quick as possible on reviews. Like, you have to know, I think it's really important, particularly for brands, to know like what value you're bringing to the space. If you're a big blue chip brand that has the budget, we're going to overpay for a deal or pay more than SeatGeek will, but I'm going to review the video. Every little bit has to be, approved by my 3 lawyers and whatever. SeatGeek can't be that. SeatGeek has to be, we're going to be quicker than everyone else, and we're going to be easier to work with. I think understanding your value prop is really, really important for brands.
Totally agree. Well, thanks for coming on, man. I know this is going to be super helpful for a lot of creators that watch this podcast and talk about like, how do I price brand deals? Who should I be talking to?
Yeah.